Thank you everybody for joining this call. This is our weekly community call, Career Go, where we help enable, empower everybody, find their dream job and use their full potential. So this call is gonna be recorded and streamed on social media and YouTube. So if you're not comfortable being streamed or recorded, please leave the session now. Today's topic is 5 tips to maximize wealth, and we'll discuss the objectives and the speaker's bio in a few seconds here. Just for the community work, we're working to help you find your job, and we boost your networking and practice skills. So if you're comfortable sharing your LinkedIn profile in the chat and connecting with others who share their LinkedIn profile, that would be great. That would help you, boost your network and meet others who could help you with your career as well. So the call today, Lisa is gonna speak for maybe 45 minutes. We'll leave 50 minutes for Q&A at the end. We ask you just to leave limit your question to 2 minutes so that give a chance to other attendees to ask their questions. You can use also the raise hand feature just to know that you have a question, and you can also unmute yourself at the end to share your question. At the end of the call, we do a survey. We want to hear your voice. It's just 1 minute, and we want to know what you really want to see in future calls. So please, provide us your feedback by filling that form. We also take a group selfie at the end. We use this for marketing purpose. So if you can be on camera and comfortable being on this selfie, please do so at the end. So stay around. This whole community is all about volunteering. So if you would be kind enough to provide the speaker quotas and recommendations on LinkedIn, that would help the speaker getting recognized and also help you getting recognized as well, because some people read the recommendations and they connect with the people who put those recommendations as well. So our promise, is getting hired within 3 to 6 months. If you continue to show up, if you continue to apply what you learn here, if you continue to ask questions, be curious, teach others, you will definitely get hired. IT market is hot, and there is tons of work in North America specifically. So our goal is getting 1,000 plus hired in 2021. It's ambitious. We know it's tough time with COVID. Some people are not working, but we want to help more people. So if you get hired, please share the news. Let us congratulate you. Let us celebrate your achievement. And already some people are already got hired from this community in the last several weeks. There is 8+ people that I know already got hired. So what asked to you is, be curious again, engage and ask questions, connect with others, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. There is lots of videos that could help you with your resume, your LinkedIn, with your interviewing skill, with your job search in general, and your storytelling, and again, lots of other tips, great speakers. So and this call is gonna be streamed there as well. So for our next sessions, this Sunday, we have a business coach who is gonna speak about the first 90 days of, after being hired, what you should do, how you could prepare yourself for those 30, 60, 90 days. Lots of great insights. You'd better try to join this call if you can. Our next Thursday, we'll try to change the time a little bit to give a chance for people to go out. So we change the time to 5:30 p.m. So if you can join that speed interview, it's gonna be interactive. We wanna, help you with your interviewing skills. So come on and check, what you're doing with those questions. And those events will be shared in our YouTube and Facebook and LinkedIn groups, so you can get the event right as well. So today's topic: 5 tips to maximize wealth. The objective is creating your 5-step financial base. Our speaker, Lisa Elle. Lisa Elle is the founder of the Wealth Collective trademark, owner of Elements Financial Group, host of the Monkey Makeover podcast, and author of STRUT, How to Kick Financial Assets
I
in
got
sales
it.
issues. Lisa has been a wealth strategist and a certified financial planner for over 20 years and is passionate about helping people create financial clarity to fund their dreams. With that, I will hand over to you, Lisa. The floor is yours. You can share your screen if you want.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much, Ahmed, for having me here today. I'm so excited. I am loud. I hope you all can hear me. I talk fast. So if you need me to repeat something, please raise your hand and I can repeat things. But I'm full of life over here because mostly because we've all been locked down. So, you have to kind of get excited to see people online, right? So like Ahmed said, I wrote this book in 2016, and I think you can tell from the cover of it, that's like a really big stiletto heel. So you can tell my main market, who I typically work with, is women. So I do a lot of talks. When I'm doing talks like this, I usually do them to women's groups. So that's a big part of my marketing. But I do work with clients of all ages in my actual practice. My youngest client is just born, and my oldest client is 96. So I have quite the gamut and experience over the last 20 years being a certified financial planner, working in various provinces across Canada, and just being able to really help people fund their dreams. That's like what my whole goal is. So I hope you get something out of this. And so tonight I kind of want to talk about like 5 tips to maximize your wealth. And I want to start off with the first tip. And then some of these will be longer conversations, but the first tip is kind of short and to the point. And the first thing is you've got like the number one killer of your wealth is procrastination. And that will kill your wealth. Like, here's the thing, you have a to-do list. We all have a to-do list. We have our daily to-do list, like do the laundry, get groceries, that kind of thing. But then there's like this to-do list that you've had in the back of your head for the last, 10 years. And it has been probably nagging at you a little bit. And it's probably something like, oh yeah, I need to get my will done. Or, oh yeah, I have to file my taxes, like all the things we're supposed to do financially. Oh, I should check on my insurance rates or look at all those kind of things. So what's happened is procrastination is the number one killer of your wealth because you're not acting upon your to-do list. And let's face it, if we write a to-do list, like if I sit down every morning and write a business to-do list of the clients I'm going to contact during a day, or like in your case, if you're, looking for a job, or if you're contacting, just networking in the marketplace, whatever it is you're doing, you write your to-do list and you kind of check it off and it gives you that buzz, that joy. It's kind of like that dopamine hit, right? So we want to check things off our to-do list. But what's happening when we've got these energetic to-do lists that we haven't checked off, it's actually sucking our energy. It's like an energy vampire, and we don't even know really the damage it's doing till many years later, when something comes up in our lives and we have something unexpected or expected just happens and throws us off our financial game. Like the last year for many of us has been a complete curveball, right? So we want to be prepared for that. And that is why it's so important to make sure we're doing that to-do list, because the whole thing is, if you're writing something on a to-do list, it's like valuable to you. It brings, like, it's valuable in your life, right? So if you have all these things in your energetic to-do list, you need to check them off so you can clear the energy paths and without getting too like spiritual and woo-woo and talking money mindset, but it is all connected, right? We need to clear the path and just go out and get this stuff done, right? I'm not going to say any bad words, but go out and get the stuff done, right? You got the big pile there, right? So that's the first thing. No more humming and hawing. I want you to make a commitment that after tonight, when I'm done talking, you are going to at least take one action item and go out and send an email or, contact a lawyer for a will or whatever else I talk about tonight. But I want to make sure you take one little action step, even if it is like filing your taxes or emailing an accountant to get your taxes filed. Like whatever it is, I just want you to go ahead and take that. You'd be surprised at how many clients we have that haven't filed their taxes, not just in 1 year or 2 years. This year we did at least 5 clients, at least. that haven't filed their taxes in somewhere between 5 and 7 years. So anyways, I hold no judgment with my clients because this is a very safe place to, you know, spew out any of your money issues, like when I'm meeting with my clients. But like, note that it's very common, and don't ever feel shame about money, or not doing something, or the shame, or like the should-haves when you're shoulding all over yourself because you should be further ahead financially than where you are today. Don't do that. Don't buy into that. Don't listen to that voice in your head or comparing yourself to your neighbor. It's just going to wreak havoc in your financial life and keep pulling you down. And we want to break that. We want to break that. We want you to elevate, and truly, like, you're going to do the world great good when you are making lots of money and thriving in your financial life overall. So that's the first one, is procrastination. So number one killer of your wealth, get over it, get things done, okay? So number two, I want to talk clarity. I want to talk financial clarity. The biggest thing, and the number one reason why most people aren't like actually accomplishing their financial goals, is because they do not have true clarity on what it is they're trying to accomplish. The thing is, if you haven't set your goals very clearly and very, very, very defined, you know, we've all heard, okay, have you guys heard of course, this is a very corporate thing, but you guys have heard of the SMART goals, like setting SMART goals. So, you know, SMART stands for specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and then time frame. Like, that's the SMART goal, right? So what we need to do is not only set SMART goals, but I want to challenge you to set smarter goals. So we want to set smarter goals, and we want to add on to the E and the R. So now corporate America has done a great job. I'm sure you guys have all heard this, like with your setting SMART goals. But what's missing in that, and this goes back to creating financial clarity, which is my tip number two, and that is we want to connect on the E, which is emotionally connected to you. So you want to make sure your goals and your, like, what you're working toward is so emotionally connected to you. Stop borrowing other people's dreams. I mean, you can borrow them if you want, but who cares about making $1 million? Honestly, if I gave you $1 million and we piled it up in the middle of the room, bunch of paper, it has no meaning. It's like, good, you can maybe jump in it, take a few photos, a few selfies for the Instagram, and be like, yay, I'm rolling around in $1 million. But other than that, it's probably not going to be that much fun. So what we need to do is actually get to the root cause of what we want our money for. We want to feel and be emotionally connected to our goals. That is so key when calling in the money and the wealth that we're truly trying to build. I think this is a huge disconnect. And I think it also starts, I was talking today on one of my, I think my Facebook page, but basically it boils down to like deservingness. Like, do you feel you deserve your goals? And then this gets into a whole self-worth conversation. We can go down that rabbit hole for hours, but the bottom line is you do deserve your goals, and you also need to be emotionally connected to them so you can bring them about. That is going to powerfully help you take a SMART goal into a smarter goal. And the R in smarter is you need to realize it in your mind first. Now, you guys have probably all heard like and read Napoleon Hill and all these other amazing people over the years. They've written about this like literally thousands of years ago in text, like even in the Bible, like anywhere, like whatever text you want to think of, people have been writing about this for eons, in business, in spirituality circles, like in religion and everything. But what you need to do is realize your goals in your mind first. So whether it is you're trying to get a new job, you know, see that, like whatever, if you want to save for a trip, if you want to say hit your retirement at age 65, and say you do want $1 million at 65, or say you want $2 million net worth at 65, whatever that is for you, you just have to be able to see it first before it's ever going to appear in reality. So basically you have to see it in your mind first before we bring it out into reality. So that is a huge key, okay? And these are things that are all connected, and it's all tied into practical financial planning. I kind of joke sometimes that I'm like if Susie Orman and Oprah had a baby. I kind of take the practical side and the implementation side of money, which is what I do all day long, and I connect it to kind of the spiritual or the intuitive side of money, right? So that's kind of what we're combining, and I think you have to have a good appreciation for both sides, because money at the end of the day is just energy. If you really think about it, money is energy, and you're calling in that energy. So we want to cut as many money blocks off because we want to free those blocks out of our system the same way we do for our arteries. When we have a clog and we get a heart attack, we want to like break through the clogged arteries, and we want to clear those channels so we can receive more wealth, right? So that is why I want you to, when you're setting financial goals and you're creating financial clarity for yourself, I really want you to set smarter goals. So all the same things, I'll say it again, specific goals, measurable, actionable, realistic, timing, emotionally connected to you. And then the final one is realized in your mind first. So a realized goal. So that's just so important. So and on a side note of that, just really finding those inspiring goals. And here's another little tip that I sometimes give lots of my clients. It's not necessarily about setting dollar amounts all the time. So like, here's the thing. If I look at a piece of paper, and maybe it is for you, but for me personally, my trick is that it's not about seeing the dollar amount. Like say I want to go on a trip and it's $10,000 as an example. It's not about seeing $10,000 on a piece of paper. It's actually about seeing the Bora Bora and the palm trees, and it's about seeing that. That is the connection. That's the emotional connection. Most of us are connected to pictures. We talk like the psychology of money and everything. We're connected, most of us, to visualization, more so than say like a number, right? Now, if numbers do it for you, because there are people who actually are, you know, really connecting with the money and the numbers, then do that for you. But I know for a lot of us, I think it's something like the studies say 70 to 80%, we're more visual. So we want to see, you know, the trip. We want to see, you want to visualize the beach and the palm trees kind of a thing, right? I only say that because I'm stuck up here in Canada. I really miss palm trees right now. So I think that's all I'm thinking about. So that is definitely the second thing out of our 5 tips is you want to create financial clarity. You want to make it so crystal clear that you know every day what it is you're working towards saving for. And then before we get into all the fancy goals, like say like trips and this and that, I want to take you down to number 3. We're going to talk now about the third tip is cover your assets. And this is when I'm going to be talking about what I call creating your unapologetic, I don't even know what I call my things anymore. I have so many names. Creating your unstoppable, untouchable, unapologetic financial base. And this is the key. This is where you start. You need to plant the tree, and you need to have such a strong root system that it absolutely, your tree is untouchable. Meaning, if you were to cut off a branch on a big established tree, the tree's not going to die. I'm not a horticulturist or anything. Like, I'm not the plant person. All the plants I have are dead or I've killed them. So, but I do get an idea that if you cut off one branch, you're still going to be okay because the tree is firmly planted with a root system. So I draw out this like tree type diagram when I'm sitting with clients, and I explain to them and go through this kind of a thing. So what I want to talk to you here is creating this financial base that will literally carry you through the rest of your life. And the other thing that's so important is just making sure that you have this all completed, even if you already have done this or you haven't looked at it in years. Like a lot of people have done this maybe 10 years ago, 20 years ago. It's time to revisit this. And the secret here is that I have actually, like when I'm sitting down sometimes with clients with millions and millions of dollars, and they don't have simple basics in place. So this is not reserved. This is not like something like, oh, only for the people, say, who, you know, have no money. No, this is for everyone. This is especially for the wealthy because they a lot of times haven't put these things in place to protect the wealth that they've built. So again, this is like for anyone, this doesn't matter where you are financially, but we want to get started so we can, you know, get to the next level, because at the end of the day, we all have that next level. We're all working toward that next level financially. So here, I'm just going to share my screen, and I can maybe, I don't know, I can add this or email this out or whatever, but I'm just going to share this. Here we go. You guys can see this. So I call this financial base camp. Can you see it okay?
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah.
Okay. So I call this.
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, guys. So I call this financial base camp, right? So we want to kind of check off this base camp. And in reality, I want to leave you with this thought. And if this is all you take away from me tonight, then just take away this. It only takes a few hours, you know, 2 hours, 5 hours. It only takes a couple of hours, and you can radically change your family's financial trajectory for generations to come by spending a few hours completing this checklist and just going through it. And you can literally change your family's financial trajectory. I deal with a lot of estates in Canada, all over Canada. Unfortunately, people are dying. I mean, I have a lot of like senior clients. So we go through their estate, and there were simple tweaks they could have made if someone had done this proactively. Like, remember that procrastination I was talking about? If you can get on this and kind of just tweak it and monitor it. But even if you did this once and left it for the rest of your life, all these things, you'd actually be in a 10 times better place than the people who don't do any of these things. So it's just so important that you absolutely check these things off. Okay, so I'm going to tell you a little bit here about what's happening. So we're going to start with number one here. It's our estate planning base. So the first part of the tree trunk, like of the root system, so to speak, if I were to draw this as I guess we're going to go down the list, but it's almost like a reverse triangle. So this would be like the base of it. But you want to make sure you get your last will and testament, your personal directive, and your enduring power of attorney. Like in different provinces, they call them different things. Sometimes they call them your health directive instead of a personal directive. In Alberta, we call it a personal directive. You need to get that completed. I literally had a client walk out of here an hour ago. We finished just signing those 3 documents for her. And it's just so important. And as a person who actually like works with, I have a legal girl on my team, and we actually do wills for clients as well as part of our service. But this is a hard one. And it's a hard one because you have to actually face your mortality. And so many people don't do it because it's a hard conversation to have with you. It's a hard conversation to think about. It's a hard conversation to have with your partner or your spouse or your kids or anyone. It's just difficult. So many people, they say 60%, but I honestly think it's more like 70 or 80% of Canadians don't have a proper will, or at least an updated will in place that is there to help give your family direction. It's probably one of the most loving things you can do for people you're leaving behind if that ever happens. So I absolutely want to encourage you to get your will, power of attorney, personal directive completed. Those 3 documents, it will change it. I know in the United States, I know it's similar there too. They might have just different names as well, but it's the same thing. You just want to make sure your estate is being looked after, because when we go through the rest of the list, it's important that your estate's being looked after, because I do all this financial planning for clients and it can literally get undone without a will. So all the stuff I can do sometimes gets undone. Excess taxes are paid. Things just do not get handled properly. You got to get a good will. So that's the first thing. And by the way, on a side note, in Alberta, a holographic will is legal. Now, I know in a lot of other provinces, it's not legal. So that's why you probably want to go to a notary or a lawyer. The other thing is that, yeah, I would just definitely invest in it. And to be honest, I don't know about pricing there, but like we give our clients substantial discounts because I just want them to get the documents finished. But I'm sure you can find get your wills done for anywhere from between 500 to 1,500 on average. Would be like an average, like maybe $1,000 is probably a pretty average rate across the country if you are going to a lawyer kind of a thing. So shop around, but that's just kind of my 2 cents on that. The second thing to the base.
If I may ask you, like,
Yeah.
If nobody do that, what's the risks? What's the consequences? Do you want to maybe touch on that?
Perfect question. Okay, so if you die without a will, you're dying intestate, and that means that the courts, basically the government of Canada, the courts get to go in and decide and who your executor is. They get to decide who guardianship of your minor children are. And so it just causes time delays. So as we know, money is time. Time is money. But what happens if your estate is not handled properly, and say it's fine. Typically, it's okay if you're married and you have like a partner or a spouse that you're leaving your estate to. But even then, it's just a headache for them. Like, it's really just a headache. You have, like, here in Calgary, we have to go down to the courthouse. Right now in Calgary, we are 9 months behind. Meaning, if you want to get something pushed through with probate or all those kind of things, it's going to just take a lot of time and a lot of headache before you can actually start wrapping up the estate and actually dividing out the money. So at the end of the day, it's going to take like way longer to hand out the funds, to distribute the funds properly to the heirs of the estate, right? The other thing that comes to mind is, see, in Alberta, we're kind of lucky here. The most we have for probate tax is $400. So it's a joke here. It's like nothing. But in BC and Ontario, where a lot of you are from, it's a lot of money. So again, this is where dealing with a financial planner, and there's a lot of money. I think it's, and don't quote me, I'd have to look, but I forget, is it 1% or something of the estate, or 1.5%? Anyways, there's like the whole probate fee, and it's rated on a scale, right? But it's thousands of dollars. I think it's $15,000 on the first million, I believe, in Ontario. So maybe 1.5%. But anyways, at the end of the day, there's just things that you can avoid if you do proper planning. And by avoiding, maybe you still have to pay the tax, but there are ways to handle it in a way that's not going to be devastating to the estate, which is also why life insurance is so important. Because life insurance, just so you know, in Canada, it's different in the United States, but in Canada, life insurance pays out tax-free. I know in the States, it's a little bit different and they have different estate rules and whatnot, but in Canada, life insurance pays out tax-free, and it's a great way to offset. If you were to die with $1 million of RRSPs, in reality, to your estate, you're probably only going to be giving your heirs or your kids or whoever, like say 500,000 to 600,000 as an example, right? Just depending upon how the tax bill ends up in the end. But that's half the money going right to the government. So life insurance can offset that. But life insurance is also so important for, I mean, a million reasons, but to cover our debts. I think at the end of the day, you just want to be a responsible adult. Like if we all were responsible, the world would be a great place to live in, right? And I mean, if you have any debt, if you have a car loan, if you have a mortgage, and if you have children under 18, like these are the main things I preach about. Of course, leave life insurance if you want to, but if you at least have debts to cover, like credit cards, loans, student loans, like all of it, you want to have life insurance to cover it. And even if it's just a cheap term insurance, you want to have that. It's just a loving thing to do. And I mean, I think a lot of this stuff comes from love. Like, it's just about, really, if you care about the people that you're leaving behind, and you care about your kids or your family, or your partner, or anyone, like whoever it is that you're leaving behind, or even your cute little fur baby. I have seen wills. I have literally seen wills where they've left lots of money to their little pets. It's quite cute. So if you're into pets and you have like a cute little fur dog or cat, people leave money to their pets all the time. So again, it's just making those preparations in a really loving way, right? Because then we get into the next one, which is critical illness and disability insurance. And a lot of you will have jobs where you have great benefits, and that's amazing. The problem is nowadays, a lot of us are going contract worker. We're going kind of out on our own, self-employed. And even the big companies, benefits cost so much money. So awesome if you have them. If you've got benefits, I always say to my clients, I'm like, that is awesome. That is great. You know, like that is such a perk for having your job, right? But so many of us have to pay for our own benefits. So if you don't have benefits, absolutely start seeking out a good disability insurance. A disability insurance policy will pay out monthly tax-free dollars. So it'll be like replacing your paycheck basically. Critical illness insurance, if you get diagnosed with, say, as an example, heart attack, cancer, stroke, or other diseases, it pays out a one-time payment, kind of like life insurance. It'll pay out a lump sum tax-free, okay? So these are different types of insurance, but we want to create that income support base. So, you know, we've got our estate plan base, our family's legacy base, and then we want to create an income support base if anything happens to you, right? Unfortunately, like having a decent client size base, I've had most of my critical illness claims, 39-year-old with a stroke, 42-year-olds, you know, breast cancer. It's so common. I had two 52-year-olds with heart valve replacements in the last year. Like, it happens, but the best thing about our healthcare now, which is awesome, is that we can actually make it through these challenging things that we would have definitely, you know, 50, 100 years ago been dead from, no doubt, right? But now it's not a death sentence. Now, what happens is if you typically have a stroke or a heart attack or cancer, you might be off work for, say, a year or two. And in that time, if you don't have proper insurance in place, you will probably, or a good disability insurance plan, you will probably be drawing on your RRSPs, your TFSAs. You're going to be drawing on your investment assets, right? So you want to not wreck your retirement. It's like if you had cancer for 2 years before age 65, as an example, you don't want to have to draw down all your retirement assets, right? Because then you're going to have to play catch up extra hard, right? And work an extra 2 years on the other end. So it's nice to have things in place so you can kind of keep the timeline for retirement, as an example, if that's your goal, whatever it is. But if you want to keep that in, it's important to have coverage in place. You're not having to dip into all the money you've worked so hard at saving up, okay? So same thing with extended health care. I won't really touch much on that, but basically, you know, the extended health care, we're so blessed to have amazing healthcare in Canada. The extended healthcare, again, is so expensive. On average, I talk to pharmacists all the time, like, how much does diabetes cost? Well, diabetes, for most, the average person's about, I think it's like $400 in Canada for the medication on average, and insulin and this and that. So how are you going to afford that if you don't already have a plan in place, right? These are insurances and things I just want to mention. You want to get all these things in place, by the way, while you're young and healthy. Like, and if you're not in that category, then tell your kids or your nieces and nephews or your friends who are young and healthy to get things in place while the rates are cheap, while they're young and while they're healthy, because when those things disappear, like when you're diagnosed with cancer, it's not a good time to apply for life insurance or critical illness or disability or extended health care, because you're not going to get it. What you are going to get, and there are plans, so it's not all is lost, but there are substandard guaranteed issued plans, but again, substandard, and that's the key there. So if you want to get, like, you know, best value for your buck kind of a thing, you want to get it while you're healthy and while you're young. So that's kind of the main talk there when it comes to that, because things are expensive. Like, we always joke, and I know you guys know this, but like everyone's like, oh, healthcare is free in Canada. It's not free. We all know it's not free at all. It's very expensive. It's very expensive anywhere in the world, and fair enough, right? We've got all these amazing doctors and nurses to pay for, so it's a blessing to have to pay for that and to just have that care and know it's available to you. So, and then the final thing in the financial base, okay, and again, this is just the base. This isn't like the rest of the tree, the branches I was talking about. This is just like literally the root system of your financial plan, is you want to have an emergency fund. This creates your security base. And when things like last year happened, I just refer it to last year, but when, you know, all like craziness happens in the world, you don't know when you're going to be out of a job. You don't know when you're going to get ill. You don't know what tomorrow brings. You don't know if it's going to be a family member that you have to care for. So maybe it's not even your health or your job. It's someone you have to care for. You don't know when that's going to happen. And I recommend everyone, and this is important, they say 3 to 6 months. I would say the goal is to get about 6 months of your expenses, your monthly expenses. So I always go with the expenses, because if I say, oh, save 6 months of your income, well, what does that mean? Are you living beyond your means? Or are you living dramatically below your means? Because some people make $10,000 a month, but only spend 5 of it. And other people make $10,000 a month and spend 11,000 of it. So it's, you want to save 6 months of expenses to run your life if something were to happen. There's a reason for it. Like, here's another thing. The reason why they sometimes say 3 months savings, it's because disability plans typically take on average 90 days to start paying out if you were, say, disabled. So that is where they came up with the whole 3-month thing. But 6 months is good. If you lost your job, how long would it take you to get another job? And you don't want to do this stressed out. The big thing about money and all this stuff is you don't want to be worried. You don't want to have to worry about money. And when you can permanently, like, listen to me here, permanently take away the worry of anything financial and the money, you can breathe, you can take time, you're not running frantically, you're not sitting with anxiety, your stress levels, your blood pressure. Like, there are so many health benefits of being able to not have to worry about your money. And here's the trick, and I will give you guys the trick I tell all my clients. In Canada, you guys search rates on high interest savings accounts. And sorry, I know one of the fellows, he was from Georgia, but in Canada, funny enough, I was researching it. I know in Ontario, you guys have a 1.55%, I think, I forget what it's called, high interest savings account. If you Google high interest savings account rates, but the other one, and this is kind of funny, that has 1.55% right now is Canadian Tire Bank, which is kind of funny, because that's where I just bought all my lawn supplies. So, but Canadian Tire Bank, and it's CDIC insured. The other one that's great in Canada, it's a little bit lower rate right now, but it's 1.25% right now, and that is EQ Bank. And that's also like Equitable Bank out of like Ontario. I think they're based out of as well, but they're a chartered one bank. So with that, what I say to clients is you kind of want to set up your security and your emergency fund outside of your main day-to-day banking. You don't want to see your money, like, okay, has anyone like ever gone on a shopping emergency? Like, maybe it's just me, but if I see money in my account, more than likely it's probably going to get spent. Like, I do this for a living, but I'm human and I love to shop, or, you know, oh wait, my children need something again, because children are like the death of your financial plan, because they are going to suck you dry financially, right? So, and they just take all my money, I swear. I don't even know. But so it's just so important to have money kind of out of sight, out of mind. It's like a money psychology trick, right? The other thing, and I really recommend to all my clients in regards to this emergency fund. So say, for example, your goal was to say save $30,000 in your emergency fund. I recommend cash, cold hard cash, or silver or gold, whatever. But cash is great, because what happens if you keep like a small percentage of it, again, like a couple $1,000s or whatever, in your home safe, under the mattress, like wherever you want to hide it in your house. But why is that important? I wrote a blog about this a while back. I have to find it. But I had like 30 reasons why you'd still want to have a little bit of cash. And yes, I'm fully aware that you're not going to be making interest on that cash. But what happens if there's a power outage for days on end and you can't do, you know, electronic transactions? Or what happens if your credit card, my credit card was violated last week, a Facebook ads account, long story, my Facebook account was hacked, but basically the hackers charged my Facebook account with my ad dollars, and I'm like kind of ticked off. But here you go, your credit card gets hacked, you have to wait like 10 days for a new credit card, that kind of stuff, right? But there are so many reasons why cash is good to have on hand. I will somehow find that article and link it to you, but I came up with 30 good reasons why you need to have cash on hand. So if you can think of all the reasons why it could be helpful in your life, it's just great to have some of that hidden. I wouldn't go as far as being that guy that they found in Las Vegas, who, when he died, and he lived in a tiny little shack. They found something like $7 million or something hidden in the walls of this like old shack, literally after they pulled this house apart. Anyways, don't do that. I'm not recommending like hiding $7 million in your walls or anything, but definitely a few $1,000s cash on hand is so important, okay? So that emergency fund, that security base, it's made up of a little bit of cash. Put some high interest money in high interest savings account, like somewhere else, out of sight, out of mind. Once you set these 5 things, you can forget about them. You literally can forget about them for 10 or 20 years if you do it right, right? You don't even have to revisit them. If you've done these things and you know you have these things in place, it will be the buffer, the lifesaver when you need these things in your life. So set these things and forget it. Then what you do is go out and build your wealth. That's when you go out and do your real estate. You do your, stocks, your crypto, whatever it is. If you do an art collection or if you invest in fine wines, whatever it is you invest in, it's all part of the tree that's above the ground. But if the branches get chopped off, you're gonna be okay. And that's the trick. I think it's like it's like a diversified portfolio, but you got to keep that 20% here, like sitting around in just really safe investments, aka the 5 things I've kind of talked about here. You kind of get what I'm saying. So that is basically the 5 things that I want to talk about for like while you're creating your financial base. But it's still not, I'm almost finished talking because I'm like, I got a couple other points I want to cover too. So that was tip number 3, by the way, with all those 5 things, was tip number 3, which was cover your assets, which I can say because it's like my book is like how to kick financial assets. So it's kind of like my play on words always. So you want to cover your assets. So tip number 4, if you have a business, but even if you have your personal finances, so some of you might be contracting or like kind of self-employed, others of you might not be, but what you want to do, and I just want to say this too, is you want to know your net worth. You want to track it and you want to grow it. Like, what gets measured gets improved, right? Isn't that how it goes? So I want you to uncomplicate your business finances and your personal finances. And what does that mean? Well, I'm going to throw out a tip for you that I do once a week, and you can do it as often or as little as you like, but I recommend you start going on a money date. So what is a money date? Once a week, you take your money on a date. And what that means is you set aside 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes, like an hour, whatever it takes you, depending upon where you're at, and you accomplish some of the things on your to-do list, like I was talking about. Some of these 5 things I've talked about on your financial base. You review your taxes, you can review your investment portfolio, you can make sure all your bills are paid. So it's just setting that time aside to project and go over your smarter goals and making sure you're on track with them and seeing the progress. Like start tracking it. Like you guys are all, a lot of you guys, I think you're all IT guys. You guys I have a love affair with spreadsheets. I'm sure all of you do too. Spreadsheet it. It's the easiest way. Keep it simple, 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 like so important. And take your money on a date. So what I do, and I used to do this before pre-COVID, I used to go to a coffee shop in town and I order a latte and sit there for an hour, put in my AirPods, listen to some nice music, and just go through all my money checklists that I have every week, just to review everything, to make sure everything's in place. Check your net worth if you want to track that, or check your income. If you're in sales, check your sales pipeline, like whatever it is, right? Just have that review time, that high level review time. And if there's anything you need to tweak or adjust, you get on that. You send the email to your insurance broker or your lawyer or your accountant or whoever you need to talk to get that done and checked off the list, right? The other thing you can do is you can have a glass of wine and light a candle. Like you can make this as romantic as you want with your money, because at the end of the day, you really have to learn to love your money and you can't be scared of it. Because what I see with so many clients is that they are scared of opening statements. They have like statement shame. They're scared to look at their credit card statements. They're scared to face where they're at, and they're scared to face their retirement because they feel that even if you have no debt, there's something there. A lot of us carry this shame around. We got to get over that. So that's where you need to kind of just accept where you're at financially and be okay with it, and not compare it to anyone else, and just set your own goals that you can be proud of. Get those quick wins so you can like elevate your whole like happiness around money. Truly, it's like it really does shift things. So that was number 4, was just uncomplicate things, take your money on a money date. And finally, the 5th tip here is to create, like build your assets and create multiple streams of income over time. So I'm sure you guys have heard this. When you create a main, most of us have a main income, okay? If you don't, then get that main income. That's step number 1, have a main income. Once you have a solid main income, whether it's your day job or whether you have a business that's now producing income, then you want to start diversifying into other forms of assets and creating different streams of income. And that could be a rental property, that could be a dividend paying stock. Even if it's paying you a few bucks every month, it doesn't even matter. Like, it's just about exploring and understanding and learning about different streams of income and how it's going to come to you. It could be starting a side business or a side hustle. It could be doing a couple businesses, but I also say do one at a time, right? Like, don't do them all at once, because I find that's people aren't very successful with that. But if you, once you have your main one and you diversify into the next one, do that till you've got that one up and running really well, to a place where then you can break off and diversify again into another stream of income. And again, that could be as simple, you guys, as buying one dividend stock and then diversifying the dividends into another dividend paying stock, right? Like, it's just a diversification strategy. So diversification on everything is so key. I am the financial advisor who's preaching, you know, you got to put some money under your mattress. You got to kind of have it a little bit everywhere. I think that's part of, I think it's fun. And I think you should make your money fun and enjoyable. And again, like I said, just fall in love with your money, because it will fall right back in love with you. And that's where you want to be with your money at the end of the day. So that's kind of tip number 5, create multiple streams of income. So I hope this was helpful in some way. I will stop sharing my screen now. Please ask me any questions you have. I'm going to be happy to answer them.
Well, first of all, thank you, Lisa. This is really insightful and lots of wisdom there. Not so new concepts, you know, take the money date, that's a new one. And, I loved your, 5 tips as well. So my question to you, and maybe, again, for some of us who are not working, what would you recommend if, somebody is not working? And again, I know that, some of the people may not have all values that align with, life insurance or other things that might not really work with our values. But that's another thing. So what do you recommend if somebody, is not working and wanna, create some, income beside, searching for job? What would you share?
Oh, I would honestly say bootstrap it. Do whatever you need to do. That's me. Like, I would go out and like, you know what? At the end of the day, if I had to make money, I would just do whatever it took to make money to keep the bills being paid. Personally, if I had no job, even if it wasn't my dream job, I would just take a job till I got my dream job, honestly. And I totally get the whole thing about not aligning with some of the stuff I was talking about today. I totally get that. My own father has zero desire. And this is the whole thing, I guess I just want to say. A lot of people there's two sides. There's two sides. A lot of our parents were like, nope, you don't get a penny, you get nothing from me. My own father is the same way. And I think that's probably why I've done the complete opposite 180 with my kids and my family. But it is funny. And you know what? That's great. If you don't want to, I love this. I love this about this conversation about money, because you get to do money however you want to do money. I throw out my tips. I always say to clients, I'm like, here, I'm just telling you, like, here's some ideas. Take what you want and leave the rest. So it's always like, if you take a little tip, like, okay, so maybe your money date's like with a beer, right? Instead of wine. Good, do that. It's awesome. But as far as the jobs go, it's hard. And I have a lot of clients. We have a lot of people out of work here in Alberta with oil and gas. It's been a struggle. It's actually been a struggle since October 2014, when oil and gas has taken a big hit in Alberta. It's been that many years and it hasn't really recovered. So I've had lots of clients, and you know what? If you're lucky enough to like be able to have a pension or some sort of savings that you can dip on, then you draw on it. A lot of, I know clients have retooled to go get education and literally start all new careers. If that's not an option for you, I would say like go do it, like just get it done. I think it's harder if you can at least keep somehow the cash flow going. Even if you do like shrink your expenses down to nothing, but if you can just keep it going till you do get that dream job that you want, it's going to make all the difference. Because the trick is, I think you don't want to get into too much debt. That's hard to crawl out of. It's so much. It's just harder to crawl out of debt, right? Like than it is to just get by almost, if that makes sense. So that's kind of my thing. If you can do whatever you can to not get into debt, or if you do have to get into debt, see if you can find ways of getting into, say, non-interest bearing debt first, where you can just pay back like principal or very, very low interest rates versus, say, throwing it on your credit card, if at all possible, right? But yeah, so that's kind of does that kind of help a little bit?
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you. Does anyone have any questions? You want to maybe unmute and ask your question, or raise your hand?
Sure. It's Ramsey here.
Yeah.
Hey, Lisa, what's your opinion on investing in crypto?
Oh, I think it's so much fun. I dabble in it for fun. And here's the thing with, I say absolutely do it, but I say to my, like, this is what I say to my clients, literally. I'm like, okay, if you were to say, give me $100,000, right? If you had $100,000 to invest, I'd say to all my clients, I'm like, you take 10% and you dabble in whatever you want. Like I joke about buying the wine or the collector's cars or the artwork, but that's cryptocurrency too, right? It's higher risk, but it's fun. And I think that's like, there's such an enjoyment level. I think part of the reason why the stock market in general is so crazy now compared to even, obviously 20 years ago, it's the technology. It's because we have access, every single person has access to this. And so it is fun to watch. And the volatility that's coming from all of this, because there's such a mass supply and demand mass into the market that everyone can just see it at a moment's notice, it completely, and it's fun. So I say do it. Like I say, research it, have fun, do it, find the right wallet. I will give you a tale of warning. My dad had a wallet and the guy died. It was a wallet, like anyways, but the guy died and he lost half the, like my dad had his codes, but the other guy who had, I guess he had like $5 million of other people's money on his codes and no one can find them. So the Bitcoin is lost forever. And they actually say there's something like 20, $20 billion of Bitcoin that will never be mined or be recovered. So that kind of sucks. So anyways, bottom line is like, there's cautionary tale to everything. I personally, like, talk about real estate, like real estate's the best investment, except for it's not. I bought real estate in 2008 at the top of the boom, and it has never recovered. I'm still paying thousands per month, and that's just gonna be something I'm gonna have to live with personally. And real estate is a sure thing. And to boot, my properties are rented. It's just a luck of the draw of something that happened to me 13 years ago. So my point is, no matter what it is, and you think it's a sure thing, even something like real estate, you really just have to dive into the risks and really just be okay with what happens if this actually does go sideways. And then if you're fine with what happens when it goes down to zero, then go for it. Have fun.
All right, thank you.
Cool. Thank you, Ramsey. Thank you, Lisa. Does anyone have other questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Go ahead, Mauricio.
Hey, Lisa, this is Mauricio.
Hi.
Lisa, what type of investment would you recommend for people, that are new to Canada and they're gonna start investing in the next months? So, what is the easiest investment other than a saving account?
Yeah, so like if you've set up like a good emergency fund, which I always say start there. If people don't have, say, the 30,000, I don't know, I'm making up numbers, like $50,000 in call it cash type savings. Then after that, I would start investing in, honestly, it's going to be kind of a boring answer, but probably something along the lines of a growth portfolio, depending upon your risk tolerance, your age. I mean, there's so many factors, like what does your income look like? How fast you have to draw upon these assets? What's the liquidity? You guys, liquidity is the key to investing a lot of times. Like, how fast can you actually get your money out, right? So there's lots of different things, but I would probably go along the lines of like a very well diversified stock portfolio ETF, low fees. Like fees, I always joke, you get what you pay for when it comes to investment fees. That holds true a little bit too. But at the end of the day, for most people, you do kind of get what you pay for in a nutshell, as far as value and service goes. But a nice cheap ETF, something with no fees and free, is great for people just getting started. Buy, like basic index funds, and that, like, honestly, you're not going to go wrong. You're not going to go wrong with that. There's no way, especially over a long time period, I should say. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you, Mauricio. Any other questions? Yeah.
Yeah, I have another question. So Lisa, what are you an independent financial planner, or meaning like, I've worked with people from, for example, Investors Group, and they encourage, of course, they always, you have to invest with their specific investments. How does it work with yourself?
Yeah, so for me, I am fully independent, so I have no ties or loyalties to anyone or anything. I also do fee for service planning, meaning if people want like a second opinion service, or just want like actual financial planning done, retirement projections, those kind of things, or fee only planning, like, those kind of things, I do that as well. So I have access to all the banks, all the insurance companies, all the investment companies in Canada. And that's how I've structured my whole team on purpose. And I've been doing that for 20 years because I quickly realized how Canada is set up. And to be honest, like, I love the banks. I'm not saying anything bad against the banks, but I do like to shed the light. And if I can shed the light quickly, the culture is, it's the system. It's not anyone or anything. It's just the system of our banking. Just doesn't really allow for a lot of that free independent advice, especially when you walk into, say, your corner branch. You don't get a lot of the estate planning and the insurance and the tax advice that goes around with financial planning. A lot of times, as we know, the banks are there to sell, which, hey, great, they're doing well and they're making a lot of money and they're very smart. So I do commend them for that. At the same time, I think a lot of times they're just selling a product and not actually getting into the deeper holistic part of it. So I do recommend people find a certified financial planner in your area to work with, like, who can actually look at the whole picture from taxes to estate to insurance to investments to everything. It makes a big difference overall. So.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah. And no, I'm not with any company like anyone like that. No.
Yeah. So you're not biased, so that's good.
I'm not biased.
I think that's exactly what I was, for somebody, because each time you work with somebody that's, whether it's from a bank or IG, always in the back of my mind, I think that at the end of the day, they're always going to try and sell you the financial services that their company owns, right? They're not going to. Yeah. Their goal is not to sell you what's going to work best for you, but what's going to work best for their company, and that's just the way it's built.
Yeah, and I think I spend a lot more time on, like, you come to me and say, I want XXX for retirement, or I want this or that, and I say, okay, how are we going to get that? Oh, I want to buy a vacation property. Okay, great. How are we going to do that? Like, what's the best, most tax efficient way? I find wealth strategy so much more fun. like I love the investment side, but I love putting together tax strategies, especially because I always joke with people, but I'm like, if you aren't paying attention to the tax part of investing, then you could really be costing yourself way more. Like, big deal if you got 100% return on your portfolio. What happens if you have to pay 100% in tax back to the government? Then that meant nothing. So tax is still, it's a fun little spot for me to play in.
Cool.
Well, I guess it's 9 o'clock, so maybe let's take the selfie. And if anyone want to have more questions, we can maybe stick around for some time. So if you're open to come on camera, and we can take that group selfie together. So okay, cool. I see more people joining us. So anyone else want to join? No? Okay, so we'll give it a few seconds. So I want to see your great smile. So 1, 2, 3, and smile. Awesome. I got it. Excellent. So again, thank you, Lisa. This has been really great. Mike, do you have any questions,
No,
any comments?
she's covered it up very well, and you know what? Wills are very important. Very, very important.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
Good.
absolutely.
And planning. Perfect.
Yeah.
So thank you
you
so much,
guys.
Lisa.
Thank you very much. See you in
Really
Kelowna,
appreciate
BC.
Yes. On the golf course, right?
Oh, you're absolutely right.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely right. I'll be there for sure.
Yeah.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody. Thanks, Lisa.
Obrigado
Thanks,
to my
Night.
Brazilian friend.
Obrigado. Have a good night, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you,
Thank you,
friend.
folks.
Bye,
Thanks,
Rumsey.
Lisa.
Take care.
Thank
Hey,
you
Mike.
guys. Thank you
Bye.
so much.
Thank you, Lisa. Bye.
Bye.